what more needs to be done to tackle discrimination in the workplace?
I think the first thing we need to do, and it's a dangerous thing because it's what caused the problem in the first place, is to get rid of PC language. It's very difficult, and this goes right back to cultural authenticity in finance. It's difficult to be truthful about what you think, what you feel, and who you are if the laws are set up to eliminate a lot of the cross language that creates problems, but you can't actually be honest and truthful about certain things. The way questions are asked on application forms can lead, even in an AI system, down the wrong path. Financial inclusion and inclusion in the workplace needs to start with an environment for honesty without the penalty of being judged for it. So if, let's say, somebody is queer, but you're working in an organization that may have some either financial tithing to a religious group or whatever the case may be, unfortunately, you could find yourself iced out from those kind of job roles. But there needs to be a way in which your performance is good enough and not who you are and what you think. I'll give you an example. Many years ago, in Aldershot, I went for a job interview. No, it was Swindon, actually. And I had been unemployed for a while. This was in the 80s. I was one of the 2 people who was offered the job. And as I was signing the documentation, the owner of the company, which sold peripherals and disaster recovery, said, "I don't like your kind." And I was shocked. I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I don't like Black people." And I asked him, "Why are you telling me this? You've offered me the job." He said, "Because I want the best person for the job. But I don't want your performance affected when I don't ask you how your weekend is or how you're doing as a person. And I'm letting you know this up front to give you the choice if you still want to work for me." I thought 10 seconds and I thought, I can do this. It was one of the best work relationships I ever had. It made me very resilient. Now, there will be some in today's world of PC, they'll say, "Well, that's terrible." Yeah, but you know what? It's his business. He's free to think what he wants. I don't necessarily have to engage with him. And he's not the greatest, most positive role model in a world where gender and inclusion, some good 30 years later, that's important. But because I've had that experience, I know what it means to work in a difficult place and still make it work for me. I also realized as a Black female that the success of my role with him means that maybe other Black people will get employed. Whether he likes him or not is almost irrelevant. Is he a fair employer? And yes, he was. I learned a lot. I was respected and I was cared about. This is not a popular way to view this, but I have to ask the selfish question. Did it work for me? Yes, it did. Does it tell me what not to do as an employer? Yes, it does. So that I've extracted some value from that bad experience. And so when it comes to the workplace, inclusion and fairness comes in so many different packages, so many. It's up to you to decide how to pull that value or walk away.
I mean, it's certainly not the answer I expected, but a really practical approach to a horrific situation that, I think a lot of people
always be there. Those horrific situations, as long as there are human beings whirling around this little blue planet, it's going to keep on showing up in different formats. What we need to do is teach people how to be bold enough to decide what's in it for me. And that's not a PC answer, but it's the practical one that can sometimes work.
Definitely. So shifting the focus slightly, what are the benefits for business owners when it comes to diversifying their target audience?
Well, we've seen the statistics. They're incredible. I think, let me not botch this. A 25% presence of females on a board can raise revenues, or even in management, by 15%, is what I have seen. And I've also read a statistic that said there are more men named John than there are of women on US boards of top 100 Fortune 500 companies. Wow. So what does diversity bring? It brings a difference of opinions. It allows you to look more like the customers you want to service. It makes sure that the female component of our economic ecosystem is getting the growth that they need in order to continue to pass on the right skills to other female employees or even to their own children. It's not healthy for an economy to have half of its workforce not contributing to value or waxing it or just falling by the wayside. It's just not practical. It doesn't work. I don't know what, anybody who doesn't understand it is probably living under a rock at this present.
Yeah, definitely. There's a certain limit to people's perspective, and I think a lot of maybe the male, straight, white, cisgender business people look at target audience through their own mirrored lens and think they all look and sound and act like them, and it's simply not.
Everybody feels the same way. Look at the conversation we just had, Megan. There'll be plenty that will say, no, Viola, you should have got up and left and reported that man for racism. What? And risk my pay packet when I think, for me, I can do this. I worked for him for 18 months. I learned a lot. What was in it for me? Opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I think we have to empower people to be bold enough to operate from a very strong standpoint of self and autonomy, even when things are not perfect, because they're not going to be perfect. Right now in the United States, we've got blue lives versus Black lives matter. Why? And I'm not going to say the dangerously silly thing of all lives matter, because that isn't the point. However, there is space for groups that have been disenfranchised to be given access and the democracy of opportunity, not handouts. Most people don't want a handout. They want an opportunity. It's way more valuable and long lasting.
Definitely. And it's so powerful that you grasped that opportunity despite the situation and said, I know you don't like me, but this is for me to succeed, and I'm going to succeed despite you not liking me. And
I didn't come here to like you. I didn't come here for friendship. I came here for a bloody job. And the job is available. It's not perfect, but I can make it work.
Yeah, and I definitely think you would have had an impact on that person and changed their perspective in some way.
I think that there's no way he was not impacted positively. We had a great working relationship. I made a lot of money for that guy. And he's focused on his eyes on his money. And that's what I did.
Definitely. And it will have opened doors for other Black women to enter.
Yes, it would. And this is where power resides. In other conversations I've had with people, how do you create a platform of power? You do it by helping other people to win. Again, back to that whole binary concept of winners and losers. The new winning, the new Black, is I help other people to win just as much as I do. That's ecosystem impact. That's the fashion of the day. That's the intellectual candy that makes most of us feel pretty sweet about life. How many people can I provide the power of yes